There's been reports of an alleged Iranian assassination plan targeting Trump
And then JD
after the
Vance, first thing he says is
while
that
his
we're gonna
base
bomb
is
Iran.
very, while his base is very wound up, right?
Yeah.
And being like, it was the Iranians, and then JD Vance is named, and then he goes just a few hours after, talks about, the need to punch Iran hard and all this stuff. Interesting. When you consider that there's been a long-standing effort to sort of get the United States embroiled in war with Iran going on, probably over 2 decades now. So, and obviously, his base isn't really into the whole, more wars thing. Not that really any Americans are at this point, except people that directly benefit from them. So I don't know. I think that's an interesting development. But as far as JD Vance is concerned, he's an Ohio guy. He's been involved in at least one fundraiser at Leslie Wexner's house, who again is the richest man in Ohio and a pretty important figure in the Epstein scandal. And I mean, that's the reality of people that come to power in Ohio, just like in Chicago. If you want to be, crowned, political royalty in Chicago, you have to make good with the Pritzkers and the Crowns and families like that. I mean, in the state of Ohio, it's kind of similar, if not with Wexner himself, with his kind of broader network. He's dominated politics in that state for a very, very long time. But really the name that's most important as it relates to Vance is going to be Peter Thiel. As people have noted, Vance worked at Mithril Capital, where Mithril, by the way, a big investor in the stablecoin issuer Paxos, which plays a pretty big role in the piece we'll be discussing later. And Mithril, from Mithril, he went on to be involved with some of these other VC funds, one tied to an AOL co-founder, one of them receiving a lot of money, this Rise of the Rest fund. It was heavily funded by people like Jeff Bezos and the Walton family from Walmart, who, if you're familiar with the Waltons, are in, very tied up historically with the Clintons, specifically Hillary. And then, from there, he's his political career, a lot of Thiel involvement, once again, a lot of donations from Thiel and other members of the so-called PayPal mafia, like David Sachs and Elon Musk, of course, being a big, part of the fundraising apparatus, as are some other companies that Thiel helped create, like Palantir, which is now part of this super PAC with the Winklevoss twins and Elon Musk. And then you also have Joe Lonsdale, who's a Palantir co-founder with Peter Thiel joining that. So why is this bad? I could probably go on a rant for a very long time about Peter Thiel, so I'm just going to try and condense it. I've been reporting on him and specifically on Palantir for a very long time. If I would encourage people to look at those reports, because it's very clear that Palantir was expressly created by Peter Thiel and Alex Karp to be the privatization of this program they tried to launch after 9/11 at DARPA that was called Total Information Awareness. Pretty sure, Marty, we've discussed it before. And Total Information Awareness was basically to create a giant data mining operation that would be combined with artificial intelligence for the purpose of basically creating a pre-crime society, not just predictive policing, but also predicting pandemics before they happen. And bioterror attacks and terror attacks before they happen. And since then, it's been, privatized as Palantir. Palantir's done all of those things. During COVID, they were trying to predict COVID outbreaks before they happened by surveilling wastewater in conjunction with HHS. They've done predictive policing programs all throughout the United States. They're a contractor with pretty much every intelligence agency. Their only client until 2008 was the CIA. Palantir engineers in the early years of the company made over 200 visits to CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia. Alex Karp has said on record the CIA was always the intended client.
Hey, you. Do you still have your Bitcoin on an exchange? Don't hold your Bitcoin on an exchange. Take it into self-custody. If you're looking for an easy way to do that, we have the BitKey. BitKey is Bitcoin made easy to use and hard to lose. Take the first step. Get your Bitcoin off the exchange. Check out the link in the show notes. That'll get you 20% off your BitKey, or use the code TFTC20 at checkout.
Of Palantir. And the TIA program, though it was housed at DARPA, was created in conjunction with the close involvement of the CIA, particularly the CIA's then Chief Information Officer, Alan Wade, who was also a business partner of Christine Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's sister, in a company called Gilead that was very similar. The software program it produced was similar in many ways to Palantir as well. So, Palantir, for all intents and purposes, is the panopticon software that TIA was meant to be. And it's important to keep in mind where TIA originally came from. The person that ran TIA was a man named John Poindexter, who was one of actually the top figure in the Reagan administration to be charged as part of the Iran-Contra scandal. And in direct relation with the Iran-Contra scandal, Poindexter and also Oliver North and other figures involved in Iran-Contra created a database using the PROMIS software, which again involved Robert Maxwell and Christine Maxwell specifically, and really the CIA and Israeli intelligence. So the PROMIS software was basically a sort of a proto-Palantir, you could say, a way to sort of like data mine and generate intelligence from these masses of data. And Main Core was basically described as a list of Americans that could be rounded up in a vaguely defined national crisis, which could be something like nonviolent protests against U.S. military intervention abroad, right? So a big protest against an invasion of Iran or an invasion of Iraq or whatever could trigger it, something like that. And it was, very vaguely defined once again. And it was active well past Iran-Contra, but actually when it was like asked about during the Iran-Contra hearings, the hearings were just like shut down. Oliver North didn't answer the question. They just shut down the hearing for him, so he didn't have to. And it was operating on 9/11 the last time it was reported on by like a mainstream outlet. It was like 2008, and at that point, it was estimated to have 3 million Americans on it. Palantir basically decides who's on that list today. They label people as subversives for the CIA. And they've been doing it for a very long time. And if you look at a lot of the other Thiel companies that have come up since he created Palantir, companies like Clearview AI, for example, and also Facebook, which wouldn't exist without Peter Thiel. He was the earliest outside investor in Peter Thiel. The earliest outside investor in Facebook. Facebook was also a resurrected DARPA program called LifeLog. Facebook was launched on the same day that DARPA had to shutter LifeLog. And it was very related to total information awareness. And at the same time that, Peter Thiel and Alex Karp were expressly trying to privatize these DARPA programs, DARPA surveillance programs that were being shut down. And Clearview AI, for example, has boasted about going after Trump supporters on January 6th. They've developed this very advanced facial recognition software by taking photos off of Facebook, another Thiel-invested company, and they can claim to. They claim to be able to identify everyone in the world now. Have been, very involved with the Ukrainian military during the conflict there since 2022. But on January 6th, they brag about having been used by law enforcement and then subsequently, other law enforcement agencies after the actual day to identify people who were there, some of whom have gone to prison. So for people that want to, claim this is a great victory that a Peter Thiel protege is a VP, and that Palantir Technologies itself and another Palantir co-founder, Joe Lonsdale, are donating so much money to Trump. I would consider people to think about that, especially in the fact that Palantir CEO Alex Karp is very overt about saying that he thinks Christian nationalists or the far right in the United States is going to murder him. It keeps him up at night. He thinks they're going to push him out of a high-rise window and stuff, and has openly has expressed these paranoid delusions of that kind of stuff. And that's what Palantir is focused on targeting. I mean, it just seems like a big honeypot at the end of the day. For all these people that, care about the Constitution and care about all these values that these guys certainly, in my opinion, don't, because, they're CIA contractors at the end of the day, and maybe Peter Thiel has framed himself as a libertarian, but if you were a free market libertarian, would you create something like Palantir for the federal government? it just seems kind of a hard sell, if you ask me.
Yeah.